Now, we have some news, fellas. We have some news, not necessarily a good one. There is a man named Alexander Town. The man left South Africa, okay, going to the United States of America, running away from genocide. He has unalived his wife in America. Yes, this patrol.
Oh, who saw this coming? So before we get into this, the main reason that these guys left South Africa to come here to the U.S. was because they're claiming that they're being attacked over there. They're getting unalived, and now we have a case already. I mean, they just started getting here. This specific group of Afrikaners that are coming here, all because of they're one of them, Elon Musk, that talked to his friend that's in the office, and now to put pressure on the South African government for them to come here, and it worked. So they started coming here, and actually, I did see one of them. One of them already driving tractors and bragging and all of that stuff, which kind of was supporting some claims that people had that they're getting replaced, that the farmers are being replaced by them. So that was interesting. But now we have this situation with this guy right here. So I'm gonna let it roll, and then we'll talk as we go through it.
People you saw leaving South Africa going to the US because South Africa is a xenophobic, okay, the xenophobic parties. It's another conversation because South Africa is genocide against white people. As an alive his own wife. It's crazy stuff. So Kim White, originally from Cape Town, his wife was from Cape Town, allegedly murdered by her husband, Alexander Tone. Fairfax County Police responded to a domestic disturbance at their residence in Bromwell Court on May 24th. Upon arrival, Tone reportedly admitted to assaulting and unaliving his wife. Kim was found unalived at the scene, suffering trauma to her upper body. Tone was then charged with second degree murder and is being held without a bail while the investigation continues. Crazy. This
While we talk about this, we forget how we forget about this group of people's history. We forget where they started, how they started being in South Africa. They came there and they unalived a lot of people, many people, kicked them off their lands, kept them off their lands, and then actually even forced them to work the same lands that they took away from them. And now they're claiming that the lands are being taken away from them, they're getting unalived and whatnot, which is crazy. But let's keep hearing about this, and then we'll dig a little deeper into it.
is crazy. I mean, I thought people were running away from genocide. Why would you run away from genocide then be genocided on the other side? That's bad. That's very sad. Like I feel sad for the lady. I don't know. Like, what do you think would be the reason? Why would you want to allow somebody that decide to live with you to go to America? I mean, for somebody to say yes, let's go together. It's another thing. I mean, there is I'm your wife. That's one thing, and there is I'm your wife. I'm leaving my homelands to go to another place forever. That's another level of things. So you must have a very strong relationship to get to that level of deciding to leave your hometown, your home life for another place. Now, why would he do that to her? Some people are saying there's a possibility that she perhaps said, I don't want to live in America. Listen, I'm here, but after staying here for a couple of weeks now, I just feel like home is not here for me. I cannot. I can't stay here. I want to go back to South. I want to go back to Cape Town because she's from Cape Town. And he was very angry. Why would you want to go back to Cape Town? We made a right decision. We left those little dark looking things to come to America because they're genociding us. They're unfair. They're treating us in reverse racism. They're the most racist things in the world. And she was, no, I actually want to go back because this is not what I expected. I thought it was going to be much greener here. But America hits you with his own reality. Reality.
Okay, so let's pause there. Since we're talking about them and the reason why they came here in the first place, they're supposedly victims. So now let's see what one of them has to say about all. Where's that video? So let's hear this guy out.
Point two, crime patterns are absolutely clear across this country. The richer and whiter you are, and usually based on what I've just said, the whiter you are, the richer you are. That's an undeniable correlation based on historical rigging of our economic system during and before apartheid. The richer and whiter you are, the less likely you are to suffer crime, and the poorer and blacker you are, the more likely you are to suffer crime. And then thirdly, there is no evidence of targeted race based murders in this country. There's not been a single land seizure in this country by the government or others based on race. And I want to speak to what Ernst Ruth said. It's crucial to point out this, that he talks about the particular brutality, allegedly, of farm murders without countenancing the fact that the vast majority of murders in this country affecting all kinds of people are particularly brutal and awful and garish. It's not unique to farm murders. It happens all the time in all communities. It is ghastly and awful. It's not a specific plight of the farmer. And Ernst claims that you need to count like the number of farm murders in line with the proportion of how many people there are. Actually, if you look at the data, Piers, farmers, whiter farmers, suffer less crime than black farmers and farmers of color because they are better protected by their wealth, which is often a corollary with their race. It actually turns out.
So you heard what this guy has to say. He's saying that they're actually not being unalive there. It's not. It's the violence is very proportionate to their numbers when it comes to their overall population. So in that sense, they're not being. People are not after them in South Africa, and then they come here as refugees. And then this guy that gets on this bandwagon and comes here to freeload, he ends up unaliving his girlfriend. So, what kind of picture does that paint about him? And what else is going to happen with the rest of them? I mean, this is just the beginning. This guy's just started arriving here like pretty much within the last month. And many of them are going to come here. They're going to come here in huge numbers, let alone the fact that it's not the top of their group. It's the it's the part of them that are towards the bottom of that group. It's the poor ones that don't really have much going on. So I'm very curious what's gonna happen, but let's continue listening for a bit to what he has to say.
That when you count the beans, white farmers are absolutely not being disproportionately sufferers of crime. What really happens, Piers, in farming communities around the country is that in a farming community, there are many poor people for whom the only place that they can gain work is a farm. And the only source of wealth in that area is the farm. And so crime out of necessity to try and steal something to gain wealth, while very regrettable, it makes sense that it happens. It makes sense that it targets the source of wealth, the source of income, and the source of value. That happens all across the country. And there were crime stats that came out, if I can just finish this, because crime stats came out 3 days ago that
All right, he said enough. On top of this, the person that opened this portal, Elon Musk himself, is now just falling out with Donald Trump. He's now actually accusing him of being in the Epstein files. So that's probably going to trigger a lot of ego and a lot of things, are probably going to start going into motion. A lot of research is going to start being, happen. On top of that, we don't know what else he might expose. So we're going to see how things are going to roll out with, this kinds of things happening with this group of people that he opened this portal for. And then at the same time, the beef ongoing with him and Trump, him getting kicked out of the White House and his contracts being canceled and all this other stuff. It's probably going to be a mess. But until next time, guys, we'll chop it up. Peace.